Hello YouTube fans, welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here today and joining me for another reading. I will be bringing through your deceased loved one or ancestor today. Thank you again for being here, and I'll thank you in advance for hitting that like button, subscribing, making a comment. All of those go toward helping me build my channel, but more importantly, when you do that, YouTube algorithm recognizes that and says, hey, somebody likes this content, let's show it to more people. So it broadens the audience, and that means this video is more likely to get to the family that needs to see it. So thank you for doing that, and I'm going to get right into the reading today. I'm just going to shuffle these cards as I'm talking. Hope you're all doing wonderful and life is treating you well. Thank you, Spirit. I took a couple of days off and I'm feeling quite refreshed. Thank you. And if you didn't see my most recent video I just released today, well, today is Monday, it was a little different. And so for those of you subscribers that are coming back, you might want to check that out. It was not specifically for anyone in particular. It was a general channeled message. Just, you know, some good advice, I guess, if we would say, from Spirit. So please check that out. It's just called, what did I name that one? Ancestor Spirit Channeled Message, I think is all it says, yeah. And there's a specific playlist. That was the first one I'd done of those, so I put it on that, a playlist called Channel Messages. Thank you. So today, I'm bringing forth a gentleman. Got a lot of men coming through lately. I don't know what's going on. Kind of funny how I'll do 2 or 3 men and then a couple of women, and I don't know. There's no normal to any of this, is there, y'all? This man was a musician. He's showing me that he played multiple instruments, as many musicians do. I believe he played professionally, and his primary instrument was a guitar. He was on the thin side, dark hair, kind of, I don't know, chin or shoulder length hair. He was not particularly young, but, you know, I'm hesitating to use the word middle-aged because the older we live, the more that number changes. But, you know, he was, you know, I would say 40-ish maybe, and he is showing me that he played in a band, in a group, and that he died of drug overdose. But the interesting thing is the message he's bringing through about that is he's saying, but I expected it. Everybody that knew me expected it. It was no shock to anyone the way that I died. And excuse me for letting me just talk a minute while I don't shuffle and you just have to look at my hands. So he's saying, he's showing me this room where he was with his fellow band members when this happened, apparently. And I get the feeling that it was after a performance that they had done, and they were just all hanging out together, and, you know, I think they were all probably doing drugs and alcohol, whatever, and he just did too much, or got the wrong thing, or I'm not really certain what the specifics of that was, but apparently it feels like his manager, I believe it was, but someone outside of the group came in to check on them or to say, hey guys, it's time to leave or whatever. And everybody kind of stumbled awake, and, you know, most everybody was kind of passed out anyway, or near there. And everybody kind of stumbled away except him. And then they couldn't wake him. They couldn't arouse him. And again, he's just saying, well, it's no big deal. And he's kind of showing me a little bit of a timeline, the backstory to this, that he started out, again, as a musician. And I'm not that familiar with that industry or the inside of it, so to speak. but, you know, I see things, I read things, I hear things. So he's saying that it's just that that particular industry, or at least where he was riddled with drug use, and it was just such a commonplace thing. And, you know, he started young, just kind of dabbling and every now and then he's saying the more gigs he did and the more places they played and the more popular they became, and he said it just became the norm. And he said he actually saw himself, he saw it happening. He saw the kind of when you, I'm trying to get this clear before I say it. It's like when you have any addiction, oftentimes you don't see the line. You don't see that line that you cross that takes you from maybe recreational to an addiction. When you cross it, you're just suddenly one day you're addicted and you didn't see it happening. And he's kind of saying, but I knew it, you know, but I did know it. And it was just such the norm, and it just felt good, and it was just my way of coping. And I just almost, it's not that he didn't care, but kind of, sort of, just that he knew it. It's just like he had this acceptance that that was the way it was going to be for him. And he's adding to that by saying, and I knew most likely that was how I was going to die. He's saying he's not predicting his death, but he's saying it was kind of accepted that that most likely was going to be the cause of my death. And he just had this, like I said, a kind of an internal acceptance for it. So this message, I'm trying to figure out who this message is for, if I can get a sense. Let me see if I can get a few more cards here and see who this message he wants to connect with today. Thank you, Spirit. Bear with me as we get some cards to tell the other side of the story, or more of the story. Let me see. Yeah. You know, there were times, and what he's saying here, kind of through these cards too, is it was just such a darn roller coaster. He's actually used a freaking roller coaster with that type of life. One minute, you know, people were stabbing you in the back and calling you failure, or maybe they felt failure whether they were or not. And the next, you know, and women were throwing themselves at you, and then the next minute, you know, you were out in the cold, and the money was sometimes feast or famine, and then the next minute you were a star, and it was just such an emotional roller coaster and just a lifestyle roller coaster. He's making that point that it's drugs to him were a way to normalize, I guess you could say. I'm not sure which direction you want these, Spirit. You want these upside down, or they kind of came out in the reverse, so let's see. And I don't, by the way, folks, I don't read always the typical messages of the tarot cards in the way that you would a love reading. This is a little bit different. So if you see me point to a card and I'm not conveying the traditional meaning of that card, it's just because this is a very different context when you're reading people, at least for me, the way I do it. So that's just the way it is here. So there. Okay, let me go back and connect again with that, because he's just bringing that home, that, you know, he thought about leaving the career, but he loved it, and there was just something, he just had this kind of unexplainable but steadfast walk in the path. It's just like he knew that was his path, and he was just going to continue to put one foot in front of him and keep going down that path. That was the only thing he really ever wanted to do. You know, it wasn't like he was going to stand up and fight against a lot of it, because that's just what he, you know, the music industry and all the trappings, if you will, of it he knew that was just part of it. Didn't mean he didn't have trouble balancing a lot of that, but it was just the way that it was, or maybe is. And he's just saying, and that was my way of coping. Okay, I tell you what I'm going to do here, because I'm feeling like all these cards were more about him. I'm going to see if I switch decks. Which deck do you want me to use, Spirit? Maybe I can get something for the person that this message is meant for, and that card just I'm going to jump right out. We got the King of Cups again. I don't know. I feel like maybe, wow, this feels more like, now this would be the, all right, let me scooch these up. That's an official word. It may or may not be in the dictionary, but it's mine. Scooch. Do y'all ever use that word? Okay, let me just, all right, be sure I can get these on camera. Okay, I think I can get another one. Yeah, all right, good. So it feels now the energy has shifted, and this will be for the person who is living, who perhaps is, or not perhaps, is needing to hear from this person, or wanting to hear from this person. Pardon me. I just got a snoot full of incense over here. Ooh, it smells good, but not supposed to breathe that quite like that. Okay, Spirit, what would you like to say about this person, or to this person that's living? Thank you. You know what I'm getting off of this card right away is this person that's left behind that he's bringing this message in for. It feels like it's a man. Might be his father or a brother or family member, but you know, it feels like someone very close to him, and he's saying, you took this personally. So maybe you took it, if this is the father of this man, you felt like you were a failure in your parenting because of this. That's a real strong message I'm getting here for somebody, that you felt like you were a failure because he, not so much that you, well, let me see. It could have been you felt you tried to guide him earlier in life to other careers and nothing would stick, and he just wouldn't hear it, or he wasn't interested. It feels more like just a disinterest in doing anything else. And I think you may have even told him at some point, you told him he was lazy. That's a message that's coming through. You either told him that or implied that he was lazy because this is the career that he wanted, and you didn't think he was going to be a success, and that he wasn't going to, you know, make any money, and he wouldn't be able to support himself. And come on, Spirit, give me some cards here, please. I love this deck, but they just don't jump out of this deck. It doesn't talk very often that way. Anyway, thank you. And as I said that, thank you, Spirit, taking care of me here. All right, it feels like it needs to go like this. Yeah, and I'm just getting more of this message that this person, again, if this was a father figure, or like I said, could have been a brother, but family, somebody that it feels like you took this personally, you couldn't see his path to victory, so to speak. You couldn't see how this was going to make him happy. I think you even told him, and here I've got a queen now. I got a king and a queen. Now I don't take these, as I said, I don't take these literally like you would in a love reading, but this could also be, in this case, I'm feeling a certain energy. So I've got two things to say here. One is this could also be another family member, or it could be a romantic interest that was in this man's life that this message could have been meant for. The other message is just a continuation of the storyline, but you couldn't see how he was going to hold down a relationship, how he was possibly ever going to settle down and find any good foundation in the life, because he was traveling and he was, you know, just sleeping in a different hotel room and never, you know, really having any, like I said, foundation or what you perceived as good structure to build a life on. And I think this hurt him deeply. I think that you not believing in him, and at some point it feels to me like you might have just stopped communicating. You just might have been out of each other's life, in fact, is kind of what it feels like. So I don't know, this could be brother sister, this could be mother father of this this man, could be, like I said, a romantic interest of some sort, but it's not really the story that I'm getting so much, but it could be. You know, these readings take on kind of a life of their own sometimes, and I know Spirit has intention in terms of how and what it says to each person that hears this message, because of the comments I'm getting back. You know, I think it's one specific story and meant for one person, but yet I get 10 people commenting how they resonated with it in their own story, whatever that is for them, and that it comforted them. So I'm very, very, very grateful and pleased that that's the way this is working out. So I don't want to try to narrow the message down when it might reach more people if I don't. So I'm just giving you what I'm getting here. All right, come on, Spirit. Couple more cards for me, please. Thank you. So I feel like there was a pivotal moment in this man's career where I don't want to say he made it big, but I think he made it bigger. And that was kind of a turning point where I got the feeling you left your family, or this person, excuse me, that's crossed over, left the family. You were estranged from them either by choice and or by the fact that you were traveling more and just never home. Yeah, there we go. And everybody is what I'm hearing, and everybody was left out in the cold. The family that was left behind was left out in the cold. If there was a romantic interest in your hometown where you came from, they were left out in the cold. And you, the person that's crossed over, also felt left out in the cold. They just, he's telling me numb. He just felt numb, like nobody believed in him, so what the hell, I'm just going to go about my business and I'm just going to do my thing, and you know, if I make it, I make it, if I don't, I don't. I'm just going to take one day at a time, and because nobody really believes in me anyway. And that, again, that sort of became the norm for him. He didn't allow himself to feel emotional about that at some point, and he just disconnected from his feelings, is what I'm getting. And wow, just wanting to see if there's anything else. Yeah, I'm being drawn in this Ace of Pentacles to the distant mountains here that are through this archway. I think he was always looking forward, which I think is a good thing in life for us to do that, but almost to the detriment of, well, not almost, it was not only to his detriment because he lost contact, I think, with the family, but obviously to the family. But the family, you know, because of the way they started out with his career and how they felt about it. Again, you're feeling a lot of guilt and remorse about that, the person that's left behind. I think you do. I think you feel like had you encouraged him, maybe he would have taken a different path. Maybe he wouldn't have felt like he had to numb his feelings. Maybe you can, you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda all day long. But I'm not feeling that's necessarily the case. I'm feeling like he's saying it was kind of my destined path, and I kind of, that he's bringing me back to what I said originally up here, that he just kind of felt it was his path to walk, not just the music industry and what he did, but he felt a point of where he reconciled with his drug use too, like that was almost accept in his own mind. That's just part of the path. It's just part of where I'm headed, and he just kind of accepted it. And he's so he's wanting to help alleviate your guilt about that. And he's also saying, and I made the choice. He said it was both of us. Yes, we could have chosen differently, but I, meaning the man that crossed over, he's saying, but I chose to walk away and not look back. I made that choice too. I made that choice. So I think he wants you to know that he had times where he regretted that. He definitely had times where he regretted that, and he thought a lot about it. In private, he showed me he would actually go through bouts of depression where he would start thinking about it, and that was one of the reasons he said sometimes he would take drugs to help him get out of that that stuck place, that stuck emotional place, when he would, wax philosophical or, be nostalgic about what coulda, woulda, shoulda on his end. So he's saying it wasn't, you shouldn't bear the burden solely of, or necessarily much at all of that he's just reiterating it was his choice. It was his path. He made the choices he did, and he knew when he was making them they weren't healthy for him in terms of the drug use, but he did it anyway. And I just don't see a lot of fight. I just don't see him even really trying to fight it at any point. He just kind of gave into it, and that's just the way it is. All right, let me see. Spirit, do you have anything else? This one? Okay. All right, let me just see if Spirit has anything else they'd like to add. Whoops. Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, he's saying to the viewer of this message, the person who's meant to hear this and that's still living, he's asking you to please put down this burden, put down this heartache that you've carried all these many years. I feel like it's been years, that you are responsible in some way, that you drove him to make the decisions that he made. He's asking you to put that down, that is a burden. He's saying you don't need to bear that burden. You don't need to, because he's saying he's the one that walked away and turned away from your relationship and the love, and then finally he's bringing through. I love this, that to end on this note, he's bringing through a message of love, that he sees that you communicated to him in a way that you knew how. We all do that, like when we're parenting. Unless we're lucky enough to have epiphanies, we usually parent like our parents parented. And so, I see with every generation that changes, and we become more aware, and certainly technology and the internet, we have so much more in terms of resources to better ourselves in that way. But I'm just going back to, he's trying to communicate that it wasn't your fault, it wasn't all your fault, and that he understands now that you were doing the best you could, that you did what you thought was right for him. You were trying to guide him to a path where he would be more successful. He understands your intention, is what I think he's trying to say. Well, he is. He understands now what your intention was, or he understood maybe before he died, I think. Your intention was to make a better life so that he could have a better life. And it was never meant necessarily to hurt him in any way. That's just sort of the product of what happened by circumstance. But he's telling you, sending his love. He's saying he knows that you loved him in your own way, that he does see. Okay, well, just getting in one more message. What's at the bottom? Oh, okay. And under that? There's a couple of messages here that are coming through. He's saying this would have happened anyway. His death would have happened anyway, that it was kind of justice. He's telling me this was a kind of karma that he had built up. And yeah, he's just saying it was karma. It was going to happen. And I think on some level, he knew that. And he was, it's like he was, I'm trying to put this into words. It's like his spirit was, okay, let me see if I can say this. His spirit was in training in a previous lifetime. Is that what you mean, Spirit? His spirit was in training, and apparently it didn't go as hoped. That's the best way I can put that. It didn't go as hoped. And so I think in this lifetime, he just kind of wanted to cruise. He just wanted to, he didn't want a hard, spiritually or otherwise challenging life. He just wanted to cruise and do the thing he loved, which is play the guitar and do this thing. He didn't feel like this was the life where he wanted to try so hard to learn and grow and all that stuff. And that's why that takes me back to that feeling of resignation about, yeah, this is just my path and I'm going to walk it, and that's just who I am. So he didn't feel a need to go off and do anything different or start any new paths. Pardon me. Yeah, and I don't get the feeling that this man ever really had, the man that's passed over, had any particularly serious, romantic, lasting relationships in his life, largely because of his career, but also because of his drug use. And I think that was it was his choice. That's just what it was. It was his choice. Not that he wanted to necessarily be alone, but it was his choice because he also didn't want to be embroiled in anything holding him down, holding him back. Anyone giving him negative whatever about the drug use, any of that. It was just, I'm going to walk my path and, whatever. But he very clearly wants to come through again, lastly, just to say and reiterate again that don't feel like because of the way he died and all that you failed in any way, that if you had driven him away because you feel like you drove him away, that was the factor. That no, he's saying no, he's saying it was his choice. Yes, you had words, yes, you had a falling out, and I think there was an estrangement, but he's saying this would have happened anyway, and he's showing his love. He's saying he loves you and he understands why you did what you did, and he's saying there's no, I want to say he forgives you, but he's correcting me and saying no, there was really no forgiveness needed. There just wasn't any forgiveness. It was, we came in with a soul contract to do something for each other in this lifetime, and that's just what it was, and plain and simple, that's just what it was. He's saying, but he's expressing his gratitude for being with you and in that lifetime and all the things that you did for him. Okay, let's see, is that it, Spirit? Yeah, and he's leaving and pulling his energy back, but he's kind of giving me this little loose, not military salute, but a little loose salute, saying sayonara, sayonara. So that may have been something he said when he was leaving. I don't know, but maybe that'll mean something to someone out there. Okay, folks, well, again, thank you for watching, and again, I will ask you, please hit that like button and subscribe. If you like this kind of content, I'll continue doing more of it, and you never know when it might be your loved one coming through. And again, thanks for watching. Appreciate you all. Many, many blessings, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.